They thought humanity wouldn't retaliate. Then the fleet of vengeance arrived. Part 1. The Ultimatum. The stars had never seemed so distant to Captain Maya Rice as she stood on the observation deck of the EDS Intrepid. 6 hours ago, her ship had been patrolling the edge of human space near the New Eden colony. Now that colony was nothing but debris and radiation. 2 million lives extinguished in minutes. Captain, the Security Council is waiting. Commander Eli Chen's voice pulled her back to reality. Maya nodded, her face a mask of professional composure that belied the rage burning inside her. On my way. The Intrepid had been the first to respond to New Eden's distress call, arriving just in time to witness the colony's destruction by 3 massive alien vessels. The aliens had transmitted a single message before disappearing into faster-than-light travel. This is the consequence of unchecked expansion. The Vraxian Dominion has spoken. Maya entered the secure communications chamber, where the faces of Earth's Security Council filled the screens around her. Their expressions ranged from shock to fury. Captain Reyes, began Chairwoman Santos, her voice strained. Your report is the only information we have about these Vraxians. What can you tell us that wasn't in your transmission? Their technology is far beyond ours, Maya replied. Her weapons cut through New Eden's defenses like they weren't there. And based on our sensor readings, they were holding back. They could have destroyed our ship just as easily. Admiral Takeda's weathered face hardened. So they wanted witnesses. Yes, sir. I believe they wanted us to see what they're capable of. The meeting continued with discussions of military readiness and evacuation plans for outer colonies when an alert sounded. Communications officer Lin's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from an unidentified vessel. It's massive, just appeared at the edge of our solar system. The screen switched to show a being unlike any Maya had seen before. Its body was covered in reflective scales that shifted colors as it moved. 6 eyes arranged in a circular pattern blinked independently, and when it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonic undertones that made Maya's skin crawl. I am High Commander Vrex of the Vraxian Dominion. Your species has been deemed a potential threat to galactic stability. Your rapid expansion and technological development cannot be permitted to continue unchecked. The alien paused, its scales pulsing with blue light. The destruction of your colony was a necessary demonstration. The Vraxian Dominion now presents terms. All human expansion beyond your home solar system will cease immediately. All existing colonies must be abandoned within 1 Earth year. Comply, and your homeworld will be spared. Resist, and Earth will share New Eden's fate. The transmission ended abruptly. Silence filled the chamber until Admiral Takeda spoke. They're giving us time. Why? To watch us panic, said General Rivera. To study how we react under pressure. Or they're being merciful in their own way, suggested Counselor Mbeki. Maya's fists clenched at her sides. Permission to speak freely? Chairwoman Santos nodded. This isn't mercy. It's arrogance. They believe we have no choice but to submit, that we'll be too afraid to do anything else. And what would you suggest, Captain? Asked Santos, studying Maya closely. Something they won't expect. Maya stepped forward, her voice firm. History has shown that appeasement never works against expansionist powers. If we retreat from our colonies now, they'll demand more concessions later until humanity is confined to Earth, vulnerable and resource-starved. Admiral Takeda leaned forward. What are you proposing? We make them believe we're complying while secretly preparing our response. We need time. Time to study their technology, time to develop countermeasures, time to build a fleet that can stand against them. A deception, said Chairwoman Santos thoughtfully. It could work, but it would require absolute secrecy. 1 leak, and Earth burns. Then we compartmentalize knowledge, Maya replied. Most people, even most of the military, will believe we're genuinely complying with their demands. Meanwhile, we gather our best scientists, engineers, and military minds for a covert operation. The council debated intensely. Some argued for immediate resistance, others for genuine compliance. In the end, Maya's plan won out, not because everyone believed it would work, but because no one had a better alternative. "Very well," said Chairwoman Santos finally. "Operation Phoenix is authorized. Captain Reyes, given your first-hand experience with the Vraxians and your strategic thinking, the Council is appointing you to lead this operation." The Council debated intensely. Some argued for immediate resistance, others for genuine compliance. In the end, Maya's plan won out, not because everyone believed it would work, but because no one had a better alternative. "Very well," said Chairwoman Santos finally. "Operation Phoenix is authorized. Captain Reyes, given your first-hand experience with the Vraxians and your strategic thinking, the Council is appointing you to lead this operation." Maya hadn't expected that. "Madam Chairwoman, I'm a ship captain." Not anymore," interrupted Admiral Takeda. "Congratulations on your promotion, Admiral Reyes." 3 days later, Earth transmitted its official response to the Vraxian ultimatum. Humanity would comply with all demands. Colony evacuation would begin immediately. There would be no resistance. High Commander Vrex received the message with satisfaction. The humans had chosen wisely. What the Vraxians couldn't see was the activity taking place in an abandoned mining facility deep within the asteroid belt. There, Maya Reyes stood before a hastily assembled team of Earth's finest minds. "The Vraxians believe they've seen the full measure of humanity," she told them. "They've seen our fear, our capacity for surrender. What they haven't seen is our capacity for patience, for ingenuity, for righteous fury when provoked. They've made a critical error in giving us time, and we're going to make them regret it." Dr. Aisha Kapoor, Earth's leading quantum physicist, raised her hand. "Their technology is generations beyond ours. How are we supposed to catch up in a year?" Maya smiled grimly. "We don't need to catch up. We need to leap ahead. And we have something they don't expect. A Vraxian scout ship." Surprised murmurs filled the room. 6 months ago, a small Vraxian vessel crashed on Mars. We've kept it secret, studied it. That's how they found us, how they knew about our colonies. But now it's going to be the key to our survival. Maya activated a holographic display showing the recovered alien craft. "The Vraxians think they understand humans. They think we're predictable, that we'll either fight foolishly or submit completely. What they don't understand is that cornered humans are the most dangerous creatures in the universe." She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "We have 1 year to create a fleet that can challenge the Vraxian dominion. Not to match them ship for ship. We can't. But to hit them so hard and so unexpectedly that they'll never threaten Earth again." In the months that followed, as colony ships made their public journeys back to Earth, carrying tearful families forced to abandon their homes, secret shipments traveled in the opposite direction. The asteroid facility, codenamed Vulcan, expanded rapidly. Thousands of personnel were quietly transferred there, their families told they were working on Mars or Luna. 6 months into the operation, Dr. Kapoor made the breakthrough they needed. Studying the Vraxian ship's propulsion system, she discovered principles that contradicted current human understanding of physics. "They don't just bend space," she explained to Maya. "They create micro-rifts, temporary tears that allow them to slip through the fabric of space-time itself." "Can we replicate it?" Maya asked. Kapoor's eyes shone with excitement. "We can improve it. Their system is efficient but conservative. If we increase the quantum resonance and modify the dimensional interface." "In English, Doctor." "We can build ships that move faster and more precisely than theirs. Ships that can appear anywhere without warning." Maya smiled for the first time since New Eden's destruction. "How soon?" 6 more months. Maybe less." Meanwhile, weapons specialist Dr. Marcus Chen was making his own discoveries. "The Vraxians use gravitational manipulation for both offense and defense," he told Maya. "Their shields are essentially localized gravity wells that capture or deflect energy. Weaknesses: They're not designed to handle gravitational inversion. If we could create a weapon that reverses the polarity of their own shields, their defenses become vulnerabilities. Maya finished. Chen nodded. Exactly. As the evacuation deadline approached, the Vraxians observed with satisfaction as humans abandoned their colonies. High Commander Vrex reported to the Dominion Council that the humans were properly subdued, recommending a reduction in the observation fleet. They have accepted their place, Vrex stated confidently. Like all lesser species, once shown their vulnerability, they have chosen survival over pride. In secret, Project Phoenix was nearing completion. Hidden shipyards throughout the asteroid belt had constructed a fleet unlike anything humans had built before. 30 vessels, designated the Vengeance class, each powered by enhanced versions of the Vraxian quantum drive and armed with gravitational inversion weapons. On the eve of the final evacuation deadline, Maya addressed the crews of the Phoenix fleet. Every person present had lost someone at New Eden or had family forced to abandon their colonial homes. Tomorrow, the Vraxians expect to receive our final confirmation of compliance, she told them. They expect us to accept our place in the galaxy, confined to one system, our potential forever limited. Instead, they're going to learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. She paused, looking across the faces before her, determined, focused, ready. The Vraxians thought we would surrender or fight foolishly. They never considered that we might do both, appear to surrender while preparing to fight intelligently. Tomorrow, we show them their mistake. The deception. 2 years had passed since the Vraxian ultimatum. Earth's colonies stood abandoned, their once bustling streets now empty, their farms reclaimed by wilderness. To all outward appearances, humanity had accepted its diminished place in the cosmos, retreating to the confines of the solar system as commanded. High Commander Vrex found the human capitulation satisfying but unsurprising. All species, when faced with the overwhelming might of the Vraxian Dominion, eventually recognized the futility of resistance. The Dominion had spent millennia perfecting this approach. Identify potentially threatening species early, demonstrate overwhelming force, then either absorb or contain them. The observation post reports no unusual activity in the human system, reported Sub-Commander Zelks. Their military vessels remain within the prescribed boundaries. Their transmissions indicate a focus on internal development rather than outward expansion. Vrex's scales rippled with pleasure. As expected, reduce the monitoring fleet by half. Those ships can be better utilized elsewhere. What the Vraxians couldn't see was what was happening in the spaces between their sensor suites. Deep within the asteroid belt, Admiral Maya Rice stood on the observation deck of what had once been a small mining facility and was now the heart of the largest shipbuilding operation in human history. Through the viewport stretched a vast construction bay where the sleek, predatory forms of warships hung in vacuum, swarming with workers applying final components. The Banshee drive tests exceeded expectations, reported Dr. Kapoor, who had joined her. In the 2 years since New Eden's destruction, the physicist had barely slept, driving herself with the same furious purpose that animated the entire Phoenix project. The spatial distortion is 40% more efficient than the Vraxian system. We can transition at closer range with higher precision. And the weapons? Maya asked. Dr. Chen's team has the gravitational inverters operating at 95% efficiency. The Vraxians won't know what hit them. Maya nodded, her face betraying no emotion. She had become a symbol to the thousands working on Phoenix, stoic, determined, the embodiment of humanity's refusal to accept defeat. Few saw the private moments when grief overwhelmed her, when she stared at the holographic image of her brother's family who had died on New Eden. Commander Chen entered the observation deck, interrupting her thoughts. Admiral, the final ship is complete. The Phoenix fleet is ready. Maya turned to face him. Begin final crew training exercises. I want every person aboard those ships to know their duties blindfolded. We'll strike in 3 weeks. That evening, Maya reviewed the intelligence reports. The Vraxians had indeed reduced their observation posts as predicted. Their confidence in human submission had made them complacent, exactly as she had hoped. A chime sounded, and Admiral Takeda's hologram appeared. Though officially retired in the aftermath of the surrender, he remained one of the few outside Vulcan who knew the full scope of Phoenix. The Security Council just received the annual status report from the Vraxian liaison. Takeda informed her, "They're pleased with our continued compliance. They've even offered to allow limited research missions to Mars and Venus as a reward for our good behavior." Maya's lip curled in disgust. How generous of them. They're patronizing us, which means they don't see us as a threat. Takeda paused. The Council is growing nervous about Phoenix. It's been 2 years, Maya. Some members are questioning whether we should risk everything on this operation. And what do you think, Admiral? Takeda's weathered face hardened. I think the longer we wait, the harder it will be to regain what we've lost. Humanity isn't meant to be caged, Maya. Either we break free now, or we accept their limitations forever. After Takeda's hologram faded, Maya retreated to her private quarters, a sparse room with only military necessities and a single personal item, a rough stone from New Eden that her brother had sent her before the attack. She held it now, remembering his excitement about building a life there, about his children growing up under foreign stars. Soon, she whispered to the stone, to the memory of her family. Soon they'll learn what happens when you awaken humanity's rage. The next morning, Maya called a meeting of all fleet commanders. They gathered in Vulcan's Central Command Center, where a holographic display showed the locations of known Vraxian outposts. The time has come, she told them without preamble. Operation Phoenix will commence in exactly 3 weeks. Our primary objective remains unchanged. Strike the Vraxians hard enough and fast enough that they'll never threaten humanity again. Captain Nishida of the EDS Nemesis raised a hand. Admiral, our intelligence on their home systems remains limited. We know the locations of their outposts and forward bases, but beyond that, that's by design, Captain. The Vraxians are careful about their core worlds. But they've made a critical error. Maya activated a different display showing data streams. They've been so focused on watching us that they've been using unsecured quantum communications for routine messages. Dr. Kapoor's team has been intercepting and decrypting them for months. She zoomed in on one particular star system. This is Vraxia Prime, their homeworld, the heart of their dominion. That's our ultimate target. A murmur ran through the assembled officers. I know what you're thinking, Maya continued. It's ambitious, perhaps too ambitious. But consider this. The Vraxians have built their empire on the assumption that no species would dare strike directly at them. Their outer defenses are strong, but their inner security relies on fear, not firepower. And if we're wrong, asked Captain Rodriguez of the EDS Valkyrie, then we hit what targets we can and retreat to the contingency positions in the Oort cloud. But I don't think we'll be wrong. Maya's eyes gleamed with the same cold determination they had carried for 2 years. The Vraxians think they understand humans. They've seen our fear, our ability to submit when threatened. What they haven't seen is our capacity for patience, for adaptation, for vengeance when provoked. In the days that followed, final preparations accelerated. Crews ran constant drills, engineers made last-minute adjustments to the ship's systems, and intelligence officers compiled and distributed target information. The 30 vessels of the Phoenix fleet, each named after creatures of vengeance from human mythology, were loaded with supplies for extended operations. Meanwhile, Earth continued its charade of submission. The Security Council issued public statements about focusing on solar system development. News broadcasts showed humans adapting to life without the colonies, finding new purpose within their restricted boundaries. The Vraxian liaison, a minor official named Drex, reported back to High Command that the humans remained properly subdued. They speak now of reconsidering their place in the cosmos and finding inner rather than outer growth, he stated with satisfaction. They have accepted the wisdom of our restrictions. 2 days before the planned launch of Operation Phoenix, Maya visited each ship of the fleet. On the bridge of the flagship, EDS Nemesis, she paused before the main viewport, looking out at the assembled warships, sleek, deadly, and completely unlike traditional human designs. They incorporated elements of Vraxian technology, but pushed beyond, reflecting the innovative spirit that the aliens had tried to suppress. They thought they could contain us, she told the bridge crew softly. They thought they could limit our potential, define our boundaries. They never understood what they were dealing with. Captain Ishida joined her at the viewport. The crew is ready, Admiral. All of us. We've been waiting for this day. Maya nodded. It won't bring back what we've lost. The colonies, the lives, they're gone. But after this operation, no species will ever again think they can dictate humanity's future. On the eve of the operation, Maya returned to her quarters for what might be her last night of proper rest. She opened her secure terminal to review the final intelligence brief and found a personal message from Chairwoman Santos. Admiral Reyes, on the eve of Operation Phoenix, I want you to know that whatever happens tomorrow, you have already achieved something remarkable. You've given humanity back its hope, its purpose. The Security Council has unanimously voted to support the operation. Whatever the outcome, Earth stands with you. Good hunting. Maya closed the message and turned to the small viewport in her quarters. Somewhere out there, beyond the asteroid belt, beyond the boundaries the Vraxians had imposed, lay the stars that humanity had briefly touched before being forced to retreat. Tomorrow, they would begin reclaiming their place among those stars. Not through blind expansion, not through reckless aggression, but through the measured application of humanity's greatest strengths: patience, innovation, and the unyielding determination to remain free. The launch countdown began at 400 hours. Across the Phoenix fleet, crews took their stations with the quiet efficiency born of constant drilling. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Maya stood before the command chair, watching as status reports flowed in from each vessel. All ships report ready, Admiral, announced Commander Chen. Maya nodded and opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Admiral Reyes to all Phoenix vessels. 2 years ago, the Vraxians believed they had seen the full measure of humanity. Today, they learn how wrong they were. Execute Operation Phoenix. Across the asteroid belt, 30 ships activated their Banshee drives simultaneously. Space twisted around them, not in the flashes of conventional FTL, but in silent ripples that tore momentary gaps in reality itself. The Phoenix fleet disappeared from the solar system, leaving behind only the faint quantum echoes of their passage. The Vraxians were about to discover that they had gravely miscalculated. The reckoning. Captain Krex of the Vraxian Outpost Station Vigilance 7 was reviewing routine sensor logs when proximity alarms screamed to life. Before he could react, space itself seemed to tear open before his station. Through the spatial distortions emerged vessels of unfamiliar design, bearing the unmistakable insignia of Earth. Impossible, he whispered, scales paling with shock. The humans have no such technology. His communications officer frantically sent warning signals, but it was already too late. The human vessels unleashed weapons unlike anything the Vraxians had encountered. Beams of energy that somehow inverted their station's gravitational shields, causing them to implode rather than deflect the attack. Across 6 sectors of Vraxian space, the same scene played out simultaneously. The Phoenix fleet had divided into task forces, each targeting a key outpost or monitoring station. The Vraxians, confident in their technological superiority, found themselves facing weapons that turned their own defenses against them. On the bridge of the EDS Nemesis, Admiral Maya Reyes watched impassively as the first Vraxian outpost disintegrated. No distress signals escaped, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Park from the communications station. First phase complete. Maya nodded. Task forces report. One by one, the commanders of each task force confirmed success. 6 Vraxian outposts neutralized simultaneously, with minimal resistance. The element of surprise had worked perfectly. Phase 2, ordered Maya. All ships regroup at coordinates Alpha 7 for Banshee jump to the Vraxian forward base at Nexus Point. The Phoenix fleet vanished again, reappearing moments later in orbit around a massive space station that served as the Vraxian military coordination center for this quadrant. Alarms were already sounding. The destruction of 6 outposts hadn't gone unnoticed, but the Vraxians were still scrambling to understand what was happening. Captain Rodriguez of the EDS Valkyrie opened a channel to the Vraxian station. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth defense ship Valkyrie. You have one opportunity to surrender and evacuate your personnel." The Vraxian commander appeared on screen, his scales flushed with angry colors. "This is Commander Thex of the Dominion forward base. Your attack is futile. Surrender now and your homeworld may yet be spared." Rodriguez glanced at Maya, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation, Commander," Rodriguez replied coolly. "We're not here to negotiate. We're here to demonstrate consequences." The Phoenix fleet opened fire. The Vraxian base, despite its formidable defenses, began to break apart under the assault of the gravitational inverters. Escape pods launched from the dying station as the Vraxians abandoned their post. "Let them go," Maya ordered when a weapons officer asked about targeting the pods. "We're not here for slaughter. We're here to send a message." The Vraxian High Command, located on their homeworld of Vraxia Prime, received the reports of the attacks with disbelief that quickly turned to alarm. High Commander Vrex, who had personally ordered the strike on New Eden Colony 2 years earlier, called an emergency session of the Dominion Council. "The humans have somehow developed technology beyond their previous capabilities," he reported, his usual confidence shaken. "They've destroyed 6 observation posts and our forward base at Nexus Point." "Impossible," declared one counselor. "They were contained. Their expansion halted." "Evidently," replied Vrex with a harsh click of his mandibles. "We underestimated their response. I am mobilizing the home fleet to intercept these rogue vessels before they can threaten core Dominion territories." The Vraxian home fleet, 200 warships that had never known defeat, moved out from Vraxia Prime, spreading in a defensive formation to protect approach vectors to their homeworld. They were not prepared for what happened next. The Phoenix fleet, rather than approaching along expected routes, simply appeared in the heart of the formation, their Banshee drives allowing them to bypass the defensive screen entirely. Before the Vraxian ships could reorient, the human vessels opened fire. On the bridge of the EDS Nemesis, Maya watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The Vraxian ships, despite their technological advantages in many areas, found their primary defensive and offensive systems turned against them by the gravitational inverters. "They're adapting," warned Captain Ishida as the Vraxian fleet began to modify their shield frequencies. "Their secondary weapons are still effective." Maya nodded. "Execute maneuver Delta 4. The Phoenix fleet split into smaller groups, using their superior maneuverability to evade the Vraxian counterattacks while continuing to target key enemy vessels. It wasn't a one-sided battle. 3 human ships were heavily damaged, their crews evacuating to other vessels. But the balance of power had shifted dramatically from what the Vraxians had expected. After 2 hours of intense combat, half the Vraxian home fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The remainder were retreating toward Vraxia Prime, desperately attempting to establish a new defensive perimeter. "They're calling for reinforcements," reported Lieutenant Park. "Ships from across their territory are being recalled to defend the homeworld." "As expected," Maya replied. "Prepare for the final jump. All ships target only military installations once we reach the planet. Civilian areas are to be avoided at all costs." The Phoenix fleet made its final Banshee jump, appearing in orbit around Vraxia Prime itself, a world no non-Vraxian had ever seen before. The planet's surface was covered in sprawling cities with towering structures that glittered with metallic hues, surrounded by vast agricultural zones. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, announced Park. The High Command is requesting communication. A murmur of surprise ran through the bridge. Maya raised an eyebrow, but nodded. On screen, High Commander Vrex appeared, his scales muted to subdued tones. "Admiral Reyes," he said, using her name and rank with obvious distaste. "This unprovoked aggression." Unprovoked. Maya's voice was dangerously calm. "You destroyed our colony. You killed millions of our people. You confined us to our home system and expected us to accept it. And you call our response unprovoked. The culling of your colony was necessary to maintain galactic stability." Vrex replied, though with less conviction than before. "Your species' rapid expansion was no threat to you," Maya interrupted. "Humanity had no quarrel with the Vraxian Dominion until you decided we needed to be contained. Now you will listen carefully to our terms." Vrex's multiple eyes blinked in surprise. "First, the Vraxian Dominion will immediately recognize humanity's right to self-determination, including our right to establish colonies and explore space. Second, you will provide reparations for the destruction of New Eden and the forced abandonment of our other colonies. Third, you will withdraw all forces from Earth's vicinity. And if we refuse," Vrex demanded, some of his arrogance returning. Maya's expression didn't change. "Then we continue this demonstration of why provoking humanity was your most significant miscalculation." As if to emphasize her point, the EDS Valkyrie fired a precision strike that destroyed an orbital weapons platform above Vraxia Prime. "You have 1 hour to agree to preliminary terms," Maya continued. "During that time, we will neutralize any military installation that targets our vessels. Choose wisely, Commander." The next 45 minutes saw a flurry of activity as the Vraxian leadership debated their options. Twice, planetary defense systems attempted to target the Phoenix fleet, and twice, those systems were destroyed with surgical precision. When Vrex reappeared on the communication channel, his scales had shifted to the pale blue that indicated formal submission in Vraxian culture. "The Dominion Council has authorized me to accept your preliminary terms," he stated. "We request a formal diplomatic envoy to negotiate the details." Maya exchanged glances with Captain Ishida, whose slight smile confirmed what she was thinking. They had won. "A diplomatic team will arrive within 1 standard week," Maya replied. "Until then, the Phoenix fleet will remain in orbit around your world. Any aggressive action will be met with immediate response." After the communication ended, the bridge crew of the Nemesis erupted in cheers. 2 years of secret work, of sacrifice and determination, had culminated in this moment, humanity reclaiming its future from those who had tried to limit it. Maya allowed herself a small smile as she watched the celebrations. They had accomplished something remarkable, but she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity would return to the stars, wiser for this experience, more aware of their place in a galaxy filled with other intelligent species. 1 week later, Maya stood in the grand meeting hall of the Vraxian High Command as the peace treaty was signed. Earth's diplomatic team, led by Chairwoman Santos, had negotiated terms that went beyond even what Maya had initially demanded. The Vraxians would not only allow human expansion, but would share certain technologies as reparation for New Eden. The Joint Defense Pact would ensure that neither species threatened the other again. As the ceremony concluded, High Commander Vrex approached Maya privately. "You deceived us," he said, his tone somewhere between accusation and grudging respect. "You made us believe humans had accepted submission." "We showed you what you expected to see," Maya replied. "You believed humans were predictable, that we would either fight foolishly or submit completely. You'd never considered that we might do something else entirely. A mistake we will not make again," Vrex acknowledged. "Your species has earned its place among the stars, Admiral Reyes. Though I must ask, how did you develop such technology in mere Earth years?" Maya allowed herself a small smile. "That's the thing about humans, Commander. When pushed to our limits, when fighting for our very existence, we're capable of achievements that defy explanation. Remember that. the next time you consider challenging humanity. 3 months later, Maya stood on the bridge of a colony ship approaching the New Eden system. Earth's first re-established colony would rise from the ashes of the one that had been destroyed. Among the colonists were families who had been forced to abandon their homes, now returning with renewed purpose. As the ship entered orbit, Maya looked out at the stars that humanity had nearly lost the right to reach. The Phoenix fleet, now incorporated into Earth's regular defense forces, patrolled nearby, a reminder of humanity's resolve to defend its place in the cosmos. Commander Chen joined her at the viewport. "The first shuttles are ready to descend, Admiral. The construction teams are eager to begin." Maya nodded, thinking of her brother and his family who had died here. They couldn't be brought back, but their memory would live on in this new beginning. "The Vraxians thought they understood humanity," she said quietly. "They thought they could define our limits, dictate our future. Instead, they learned what countless others throughout human history have discovered, that there is nothing more dangerous, more innovative, or more unstoppable than humans fighting for their freedom." Together, they watched as the first shuttles descended toward the planet's surface, carrying with them humanity's indomitable spirit, the force that had turned apparent defeat into triumph, and that would carry the species forward into the vast, star-filled future that was rightfully theirs.